there are certain crimes that they act as a dividing line in history. Before it happens, the world feels one way, usually, I don't know, safer, a bit more naive. And then after, everything's different.
Absolutely. The doors get locked. The kids aren't allowed to walk to the store alone.
Exactly. The shadows just look a little darker. And sometimes the thing that breaks a nation's heart is terrifyingly small. It's one house.
One bedroom. One Friday night.
We are, of course, talking about the Polly Klaas case, October 1st, 1993, Petaluma, California.
And if you look at the source material, the setting is almost painful because it's just so normal, so quintessentially American.
It's the epitome of suburban safety. You have a 12-year-old girl, Polly, and she's hosting a slumber party.
It's the classic childhood experience,
Yeah.
right? Polly, her mom, Eve, her little sister, Annie, they're all home. Polly has two of her best friends over, Kate and Gillian.
But the reason we're doing a deep dive on this today isn't just because of the tragedy. It's because when you peel back the layers of the investigation, you find this agonizing series of what-ifs. Oh, yeah.
We have a timeline of errors, missed radio calls, legal gambles that are honestly hard to wrap your head around.
It's a masterclass in how a predator can just exploit the gaps in a system. And to really understand how this happened, we have to start inside that bedroom.
It's around 10:30 at night.
Yep. The girls are in Polly's room, and I was reading the police reports about what they were doing right before the intruder appeared, and it just gave me chills.
The perfect makeover game.
Right. They were playing a game called Perfect Makeover, but, it's October, it's close to Halloween. They were using makeup to make Polly look dead.
Wow.
White face paint, dark circles under her eyes. It's this weird, eerie piece of foreshadowing that just hangs over the entire case.
So it's about 10:30. The girls need their sleeping bags. Polly opens the bedroom door to go into the hallway.
And that's it. That's the moment the safety ends. Because standing right there, inside the house, is a man.
And he's holding a knife in a duffel bag. He's got this bushy hair, a beard with gray patches, dark clothes. But the friends, Kate and Gillian, they don't scream.
They don't run.
No, they think it's a joke. They actually assumed he was a friend of Polly's dad, or maybe a neighbor in a costume because of the whole game they were playing.
That's how safe they felt.
Yeah.
That a strange man in the house had to be a prank.
Exactly. The possibility of a real threat. It just didn't compute.
That illusion must have shattered pretty quickly, though.
Instantly, the man speaks. He says, "Don't scream or I'll slit your throats."
Okay.
He steps into the room and immediately sets a narrative. He tells them he's there for money. He asks, "Where are the valuables?"
Which suggests a robbery. Just a bad guy looking for cash who stumbled on a sleepover.
That's what he wanted them to think. He controls the room not just with the knife, but with this story. I'm just here for cash. But when you look at his actions, that robbery theory just falls apart.
Right, because he doesn't ransack the drawers or anything?
No. He doesn't look for a safe. He starts binding the girls.
And this isn't just grabbing a phone cord. He came prepared.
Totally prepared.
Yeah.
He had these cut electrical cords, one from a Nintendo controller, of all things, and these strips of white, silky cloth. He ties their hands behind their backs.
Well, puts pillowcases over their heads.
Yeah.
Huh?
And he tells them to count to 1,000. And he says, "I'm taking Polly to show me where the valuables are, and I'll be right back."
Which is, that's a terrifying manipulation. He separates the victim from the witnesses by giving them a task counting and this false promise that he's coming back.
Precisely. He marches Polly out of her own house into the dark.
And the friends, they do what they're told. They count.
They do. They're terrified.
Yeah.
But eventually, the silence gets too heavy. They realize he isn't coming back. They manage to get untied. They sneak out, and they wake up Polly's mom, Eve.
And she calls 911 immediately. Police swarm the neighborhood. Petaluma PD locks the whole area down. But, and this is the most frustrating part of this whole deep dive, the real story isn't happening at the house anymore.
No. It's happening 20 miles away. This is the near miss.
The what if.
The biggest one.
Yeah.
You have to go north to Pythian Road in Sonoma County. It's a rural area. Dark, private roads. About an hour after the abduction, a babysitter named Shannon Lynch is driving home.
And she sees a car in a ditch.
A Ford Pinto. It's stuck deep in a ditch on private property. And there's a man there.
So she slows down.
Right, maybe thinking he needs help. But the description she gives later is just, it's so striking. She says he's sweaty, he's frantic, and he has twigs and leaves stuck in his hair.
Like he's been running through the woods.
Exactly. But when Lynch stops, the man gets aggressive. He demands to know what's up the road. She gets spooked,
Yeah.
rightfully so, and just floors it. She drives to the nearest house and calls the landowner, Dana Jaffa.
Who then calls the police about a trespasser.
Right. So let's just pause for a second. We have a massive manhunt for a kidnapper in Petaluma. And 20 miles away, we have law enforcement responding to a frantic, disheveled guy in a ditch. You'd think the dots would just connect instantly.
You would think.
So 2 Sonoma County deputies, they show up, they find the man. By now, he's calmed down a lot. He's just leaning against his stuck Pinto, smoking a cigarette. He's playing the part of the, confused drunk tourist.
He even pours a beer out in front of them, didn't he?
He did. It's this calculated move, like, oops, you caught me, I've had a few. He tells me he was sightseeing, got stuck turning around. The deputies run his ID. The name comes back. Richard Allen Davis.
Now, Davis isn't a nobody. His rap sheet is a mile long. Kidnapping, assault, burglary. When that name pops up, shouldn't alarms just be going off everywhere?
Well, the computer tells him he has a record, sure, but it also tells him he's not currently wanted, no active warrants. And here is the fatal flaw in the 1993 system.
The radios.
The radios. The Petaluma Police and the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department were on different frequencies.
So they literally could not hear each other.
They were in 2 different informational silos. Petaluma PD is broadcasting. Look for a white male, dark clothing, scruffy beard, took a 12-year-old girl.
And the Sonoma deputies are standing right in front of him.
Exactly. But because the radios aren't linked, they have no idea. To them, this is just a drunk guy stuck in a ditch on a Friday night.
That is just excruciating.
Now, they help that.
They treat it as a citizen assist. They hook up a chain to their cruiser. They pull Richard Allen Davis's car out of the ditch. They check to make sure he's sober enough to drive.
Yeah, let him go.
They escort him to the main highway and watch him drive away.
And here's the part that it keeps me up at night. Years later, Davis confessed what was really happening in that moment.
He admitted that while the deputies were running his ID while they were hooking up that tow chain, Polly was alive.
She was there.
She was right there. He had untied her and hidden her in the thick brush on the embankment, just a few yards from where those deputies were standing.
Oh my God.
He told her if she made a sound, he'd kill her. She was lying there, in the dark, listening to police officers talking to her captor.
If one of those deputies had just walked 5 feet into the woods with a flashlight, or if they had just searched the trunk, or if that radio dispatch had come through, it's a tragedy of timing and technology. He drives away, comes back for Polly later, and that's when he kills her. He knew they'd run his name, so he decided to eliminate the only witness.
So the trail goes cold. He slips right through their fingers. And for 2 months, the world is watching Petaluma.
Agonizing. 2 months of silence. Till late November. And the break in the case comes right back to that same ditch on Pythian Road.
The landowner, Dana Jaffa.
Yes. She's checking her property, clearing some brush near where that Pinto had been stuck, and she finds things that were missed that night.
What does she find?
A pair of red child-sized tights, all knotted up, a dark sweatshirt turned inside out, and, most critical piece of evidence, a piece of white, silky cloth.
The same cloth used to bind the other girls?
Exactly. The lab confirmed it. A perfect match. It was a torn strip from a nightgown.
Yeah.
That was the physical link between the abduction scene and the ditch.
And there's something else, right? A condom wrapper?
A Rough Rider condom wrapper, which just blows that whole robbery theory out of the water. Robbers don't stop to buy condoms. This was always about something else.
So now they have the evidence, and they know who was there, Richard Allen Davis.
So the police track him down. They arrest him for a parole violation to get him off the street. And when they process the house, they get the final piece, a palm print on Polly's bunk bed.
It matches Davis.
It matches Davis.
So they have the man, they have the print, but they still don't have Polly. And this leads to the interrogation, which it's a huge legal risk for the lead investigator, Skeet Maces.
A textbook example of the rescue doctrine. Normally, we all know the drill. You have the right to remain silent. If a suspect asks for a lawyer, you stop. Period.
And Davis wasn't talking.
Stone-faced. He knew the game. But Skeet decides to invoke the rescue doctrine. It's an exception that says if police believe a victim might still be alive, the priority shifts. Saving a life outweighs the suspect's right to silence.
But wait, if they do that, can they even use his confession in the murder trial later?
That's the gamble. Usually no. You might find the body but lose the confession as evidence. Skeet Meese looked at the situation. 2 months had passed, but he decided he had to try.
He had to take the shot.
He did. He sat Davis down and said, essentially, I don't care about the court case. I care about the girl. We know you were there. The palm print proves it. Don't let her rot out there.
And he broke him.
He did. Davis cracked. He called Meese from his cell and said, quote, "I fucked up big time."
And that's the end of the hope.
He admitted Polly was dead. He agreed to lead them to the body. But even then, it was a transaction. He demanded a cigarette and protective custody. He wanted to make sure he wouldn't get killed in the prison yard.
So he leads them to the body, and then comes the trial, and he tries to pull that botched robbery narrative again.
His defense team was desperate to avoid the death penalty. They argued he was high, didn't know what he was doing, just stumbled in there looking for cash.
But the experts weren't buying it. And this is where we get into his psychology. You mentioned cortophilia in the notes.
Yeah, it was key. Dr. Park Dietz, a renowned forensic psychiatrist, testified. He analyzed the bindings. Remember, Davis brought prepared strips of cloth. He tied them in specific, intricate knots.
Right.
Dietz argued Davis was a cortophiliac, someone who gets sexual gratification from the act of binding and restricting a victim.
So the tying up wasn't just practical, it was part of the fantasy.
It was the goal. The robbery was a cover story. He didn't take a single valuable. He took the child. That plus the condom wrapper. It painted a very clear picture.
And Davis did himself no favors in the courtroom. His behavior was...
It was monstrous. He was defiant. He'd smirk at the cameras. When the guilty verdict was read, he threw up both middle fingers to the news crews.
And the sentencing hearing was the final, just ugly blow.
It was vile. He stood up to make a statement. And instead of apologizing, he turns to Polly's father, Mark Klaas, and says, the only reason Polly died is because her father molested her.
A complete fabrication. A lie.
Pure malice. He knew he was going to death row, and he wanted to inflict one last deep wound. Mark Klaas actually lunged at him in the courtroom.
I remember that. In this whole case, it really changed the legal landscape. 3 strikes laws that came from this, didn't it?
Directly. Mark Klaas and other advocates pushed for it. The argument was, why was a career criminal like Richard Allen Davis even on the street? 3 strikes was the answer. Commit 3 violent felonies, you go away for life. No more chances.
But beyond the laws, I keep going back to that night. The radios. In the ditch.
That's the technical legacy. This case forced law enforcement to look at their communications. It pushed for linked databases, for systems that let a cop in one county see what a cop in the next town is looking for. The Amber Alert system. The foundation for that was built on the failures of this case.
It's the tragedy of too late. The system fixed itself, but it couldn't fix what happened to Polly.
That's the hard truth. They say regulations are written in blood. Well, in this case, the modern safety net for missing children was built because of a 12-year-old girl who slipped through the cracks.
I want to leave the listener with a final thought on that rescue doctrine. We live in a world that's pretty cynical about the justice system, and often for good reason. But there is something profound about a rule that says, stop the legal machine, a life matters more.
It's a moment of humanity within the bureaucracy. Skate Meese knew he might be tanking his own case, but he chose the possibility of saving Polly over the certainty of a conviction. It didn't work out. But that instinct to protect the vulnerable above all else, that's what we want the system to be.
A heavy deep dive today, but a really important one. We have to understand the failures to appreciate the fixes. Thanks for listening, everyone.